Hi, this is Joe Tate, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Sports Fix listeners, do you tweet? So do we. So tweet with us 24/7 at the Sports Fix CLE.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix at AOL.com. That's thesportsfix at AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Fantasy Jocks. Looking to upgrade your league trophy? Check out fantasyjocks.com for championship belts, rings, trophies, and more.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
And away we go. Welcome in, everybody. We are off and running here with today's edition of the Sports Fix. Having some fun, feeling good. That's what the second pot of coffee does to you this early in the morning. I'm feeling good for a variety of reasons. Although some other reasons I'm a little bit depressed. Some bad news this morning behind the scenes. I'll tell you guys a little bit about it. Some good news this morning behind the scenes. I'll tell you guys a little bit about that too. The Indians, guess what, man? They're playing some baseball today. You don't need me to tell you that. At 3:05, the lovely Rays of Arizona will be coming down, and we'll be watching some summertime babies. Cannot wait. All right around the corner. But it starts today with the Cleveland Indians' first exhibition game. Not only that, but you know what else happens today? Today, we get to hook somebody up. The grand prize winner is going to be announced, and at the same time, we're going to go ahead and give you guys the answers to all 10 questions as we have officially closed the books. The entries are closed for the 2015 Tribe Trivia Challenge. There is a winner, and we're going to tell you who that is here in just a little bit as we get going as well. Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com. He's going to join us. We're going to do that together, actually, go through the questions. We'll see how many of them Jeff can get off the top of his head. Actually, one of them was Jeff's question, but we'll go through that, and then we're going to announce the winner there. Should have some fun. Normally, Dr. Football, Bill Chickus, joins us every Tuesday. Dr. Football dealing with some personal things, under the weather, some health issues, and he's definitely in our thoughts. Going to take some time for a while here to deal with that and not be on the show. Although from time to time, expect Dr. Football to jump in when you least expect it. But Bill not going to be with us here today and probably for some time in the near future. And again, just keep him in your thoughts and prayers. Dr. Football, Bill Chick is our man, always here doing some stuff. And when we get closer to the draft, we definitely will have Dr. Football dropping in from time to time. But we're still going to talk some football. NFL free agency. Browns looking at some guys. Brian Hartline, some other guys. We'll talk about that. Jerry Hughes, perhaps. I like some of these names I'm hearing. We talked about it. I'm not the biggest Teddy Ginn guy, but we'll get into all of that. Take your phone calls as well. What do you think as teams continue to shuffle the deck and get guys out and in and ready? Salary cap room made, because in just a couple of days you can start making some offers and start signing some free agents. So we'll talk some football. Cavs, Boston, going at it. Not the only basketball. We've got some March Madness that's starting. The Horizon League tournament. We'll find out tonight who the Vikings are going to play. And then tomorrow, CSU Vikings men's basketball head coach Gary Waters is tentatively scheduled to be on the show. He's going to be on an hour or two tomorrow, and we'll know who the Vikings are going to play and who their first opponent, but it'll be a second round game in the Horizon League tournament. Vikings back against the wall here in this one, as they're going to have to defeat the winner of tonight. Well, we'll get into that here tonight. They definitely have a tough road to hold, as they'll have to knock off several tough teams. They'll also have to go through Valpo on the road in Valpo, and if they even advance that far, that's going to be some work right there, they'll still have to get through one of the other top seeds as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Coach Waters is going to join us tomorrow. Jeff Gorman talking Tribe. We got some free agency talk and all of that. Interesting story out of the NHL. And matter of fact, I'm going to tell that one here before we even get started, and then I'm going to get to the break because I'm excited. I'm fired up today, even though a little bit of craziness going on behind the scenes, and as I said, here and there, some good, some bad. It doesn't matter. I'm fired up to give away this grand prize for the Tribe Trivia. Let's rock and roll, baby. Welcome into the Sports Fix. Those of you that may be here for the first time, or those of you that are here each and every weekday at noon, live across the Sports Fix radio network. I am your host, the guy who makes all this madness happen. They call me the conductor and the coordinator of this madness over there in the Mixler chat room. I am your host, the big daddy on the microphone, J-Rocc, Jerry Myers, here with you guys. As I said, Monday through Friday, live, noon Eastern, across the Sports Fix radio network, meaning perhaps you're listening on TuneIn, live, crystal clear, HD audio across their different mobile apps and websites. Maybe you're listening on Spreaker and Mixler. If you are, shout out to those of you in the Mixler chat room over there, and everybody listening on Spreaker, Mixler, and their mobile apps. Everybody listening live as well, 24/7. You guys come to the sportsfix.net, your one-stop shop for all things Cleveland sports. Thank you guys for being here, and bookmark it if you're not. It's always the place to go if you can't listen to the show. If you can't find something you need, it's always right there, thesportsfix.net. Welcome in as well, all of you that listen, thousands around the world, time zones, literally around the world, 24 hours a day, on places like iHeartRadio, the world's largest internet radio service, on iTunes and Stitcher Radio and CarPlay and SoundCloud and all the other places that you guys download, subscribe, and feed and do the Sports Fix thing. However you get your fix. Thank you guys so much for doing it. And of course, as I say, be a part of the show early on. We're not going to open up the phones until after Jeff Gorman joins us, because we're going to go ahead and plus I just want to get rolling and get this content. I want to get into it. I've had a lot of people say, hey, are you going to answer the questions on the air? Yes, we're going to go through the 10 questions. We're going to answer them. Somebody's going to win. I'm feeling like Santa Claus. So we'll get into the phones here in a little bit. When they are open, 216-539-7535 will be the number to call. 216-539-7535. I don't know about you Indians fans, but I can't think of a better way to hang out and kill the next couple of hours while we wait for the Tribe to start some baseball than doing it right here with you guys here on the Sports Fix, man. And that's what we're doing. 216-539-7535 will be the number to call. As always, when the phones aren't open, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Facebook and Twitter is where we're at all the time. Facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixCLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. Facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixCLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. And you guys, speaking, I'll tell you what, before we get to the break, a couple of things I did want to get into. I thought this was, we always start off, yesterday I get mad at the Browns for signing Josh McCown, and every day there's always more serious stuff usually to start the show, or we're talking about a game or something else, but sometimes there's those cool stories out there, and I said, let's start the show a little bit differently. Plus, then we're going to get into Santa Claus mode. We're going to give away a grand prize, that Gaylord Perry jersey, but I don't know if you guys saw the story coming out of the NHL and out of the Columbus Blue Jackets. I thought this was just such a cute thing. The 11-year-old daughter of a player for the Columbus Blue Jackets, Jordan Leopold. He's now not with the Blue Jackets. He is now back home in Minnesota. His 11-year-old daughter wrote a handwritten note to the This is such a cute story, to the Minnesota Wild. Here's what she said. She says, "Dear Minnesota Wild coaches, my name is Jordan Leopold. My dad is Jordan Leopold, spelled a little differently, one of the Columbus Blue Jackets defensemen. Well, my dad is very lonely without his family. We're living in Minnesota right now, and I am lost without my dad, and so is my mom, my two sisters, and my brother. My dad is on a team with young guys and is very lonely and is not playing because the Jackets Jackets got him because they needed a D-man. It's been since November, and we cannot take it anymore. Well, to get to the point, the Wild have not been winning games, and you lovely coaches are most likely mad about that, but your team needs some more D-men. So can you please ask the Jackets if you can get him? Thanks, love, Jordan Leopold. And I thought it was funny too, because from the mouths of Babe, she goes, look, I know you guys aren't happy that you're not winning games, and you need somebody that can play some defense. So I'm just saying, I know this guy happens to be my dad. Maybe you can make it happen. But I thought that was so cute. The obviously I wasn't the only one. This story is catching some viral notes around the country, but it ended up happening. The teams ended up making that trade, and then thought it was pretty cool that afterwards the Blue Jackets, they tweeted out, several people involved, that it's not always about business, and they tweeted the handwritten letter out. I just thought that was an interesting story, and glad it could work out that way, but pretty cool. And it does go to show you that, for as much as, and all of us, trust me, I'm the first one to get into the whole, hey, you make all that money for a reason speech, but it does flip it over and show you every once in a while. You need to be shown that, because a lot of negativity always comes out of the world of sports, but you see that and you go, hey, man, there are real people on the other side too. But I just thought the letter itself was pretty doggone cute, man, and to send it and go, hey, look, man, you guys need some help, and we're lonely here. My dad's lonely, man. Maybe we can make this work. See, trades are always supposed to be win-win. That one was a win-win-win. Everybody won in the whole thing, and there was a very cool little story to come out of that. So I just wanted to share that with you guys to start the show today. I figured I owed you something anyway after getting all bent out of shape about Josh McCown yesterday, and it'll probably happen again today if we start talking about it. I hope not, though. But I said, you know what? We're gonna make up for yesterday by telling that pretty cool story out of Columbus and Minnesota in the NHL here today. All right, guys. You know what? Yesterday we went really long with the opening segment. Let's go to the first break now, so we can get Jeff Gorman in the house. Indians fans, let's start getting you warmed up for, well, it's not opening day, but it's opening spring training day. It's kind of, it's the dress rehearsal for opening day, and let's do that. We're going to go through our Tribe Trivia Challenge, 10 questions in 10 days. We will reveal the answers, and we will reveal the winner of the 1972 Cleveland Indians Gaylord Perry jersey when we come back with Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com, and then we'll talk about that first game of the spring as the Indians get ready to start playing some baseball. We'll see where Jeff's at, how he likes what things are looking like. I mean, what you can here with the first week and a half or so long of spring training, but we'll get into some of that, talk some baseball, some spring training, and absolutely, Bruce, jumping the gun on me. How about, speaking of openers, once again, of course, it's been a couple of decades straight now that the Indians sell out the opening day, but man, how about how quick they did it today? 11 minutes. 11 minutes. Maybe, just maybe, Indians Fever is more than just a song we play every day here on the Sports Fix, man. I don't know. I mean, opening day always goes quick, but maybe, just maybe, people are starting to see what I'm seeing, and I think what a lot of you guys are seeing about the potential of this team, man. It's not just the Cavaliers who have higher expectations than usual here this season, man. I think the Indians can every bit be part of a pretty fun summer here for Cleveland sports. We'll talk about all of that, and it's time. Tribe Trivia Challenge. Let's give the answers, and better than that, let's give the winner when we come back with Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com. Still plenty to go. We're going to talk about the Horizon League tournament and the Vikings. We got the Cavs in Boston. We'll talk about NFL free agency and so much more, but when we come back, we're talking Tribe, and we're giving away the grand prize in the Tribe Trivia Challenge for 2015. Jeff Gorman joins me next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on The Fix.
The Sports Fix, the show that asks the question,
what you talking about, Lou? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou?
We'll be right back.
Hey guys, before we go to the break, I want to talk to you a little bit again about our good friends at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships, some of the hottest fights in the world today. Each and every one of their huge events, Harry Buffalo is one of the few places in Northeast Ohio you can go there and watch each and every UFC fight at the Harry Buffalo. And let me tell you, I've been there. The people are out the door. They are to the rafters. It is one of the craziest environments for some UFC fights. Wing Mondays, they've got great deals on wings and drinks, and every day of the week there's a different special, a different deal. And don't forget the Bison Burger, the unbelievable. It is the combination of a fantastic burger and eating healthy combined into one unbelievable sandwich. You have got to get a Bison Burger while you're there. So whatever you're looking for, whatever day of the week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there's something for you at the Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, just outside Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
I'm Little Teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and
Pour me out. This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs. There's literally only one place to go. FantasyJocks.com. No football? No problem at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted. The excitement never stops. Every day of the week brings a different set of food and amazing drink specials. Fight fans, Harry Buffalo North Olmsted is the home for every UFC pay-per-view live on the big screens. And let's not forget their mouth-watering trademark, the Bison Burger. Nobody does bison like Harry Buffalo. The perfect combination of healthy and delicious. What are you waiting for? Get to Harry Buffalo, just outside Great Northern Mall today. Harry Buffalo. Join the herd.
Hello, Cleveland. This is WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley, and you are listening to the Sports Fix. Yeah!
Indian fever is catching fire with everyone.
Is it indeed? Is it catching fire with you? 11 minutes. It did indeed sell out the opener. They always do. But as my man LG said in the chat room over there, now we just got to remember that there's 81 other ones after that, or 80 other ones, excuse me, after that one. And that's the issue. But hey, the opener is not the issue, and it sold out in 11 minutes this morning. And I'll tell you, speaking of things selling real quick, welcome back to the Sports Fix. J-Rocc back with you here, rolling on. Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com is going to join me in just a minute. I know you're waiting. Pins and needles, some of you who are waiting to find out if you won the Tribe Trivia Challenge. We're getting into that in just a moment. But when I said there was some good and some bad behind the scenes, obviously, keeping Dr. Football in your thoughts, that's on the downside of things. One of the good things I heard this morning, our man Vince McKee, Vince the author, who will be joining us again here probably in the next week or so to talk again about his new book, LeBron James, The Redemption of the King. I'll tell you what, blew away. And I love to see good things happen to good people. And Vince is a good dude. He's just a good person, and he's also a good up-and-coming budding sports writer. And I'll tell you what, he's clearly going to get his most exposure here. In the first 24 hours, the book was just released. In the first 24 hours, he blew, and when I say blew away his previous best first 24 hours, try by over 1,000%. I mean, an unbelievable increase. Just if the first 24 hours are any example, then a lot of the sports world is going to be introduced for the first time to Vince McKee. And like I said, I love to see good things happen to good people for sure. Vince is one of those, and but very happy for him there this morning. So behind the scenes, a good thing there. And now we're going to keep rolling, because now we're going to go right from that good news into hooking somebody up. Well, I'm not going to hook you up. You hooked yourself up with the grand prize, and we'll tell you who that is in just a minute. We'll go through the answers to the contest and talk some Tribe. They're playing baseball today, but we're not waiting. We're starting now. Go into the phones. You guys keep the conversation going on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfix CLE. I'm J-Rocc on the phone. This is Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com. Jeff, my man, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing fantastic, J-Rocc. I'm driving through the rain. I'm looking at the snow, but up in my head, I'm out in Arizona, baby.
I'm telling you, man, it's summertime. I don't care what anybody says. Sunshine, good vibes, good feelings. At 3:05, I'm going to feel like I'm sitting in that sunshine watching the first pitch go. We've got a lineup card for a game and everything. I am ready to rock and roll. I understand that 30 seconds into it, I'll quickly come to the realization that this doesn't count, and it's not really all that serious, but I will still enjoy it nonetheless.
That's right. It's definitely better than the months and months of no baseball that we've had to endure. And before too long, they're going to count for real, and we'll be ready to go.
Yes, the imaginary hot stove league is gone, and now the it doesn't count, but at least it's real league has begun, and I'll take it. I will upgrade to this and have some fun with it. But before we even get into talking about today's Tribe, man, I can't hold it off anymore, and I saved it for you here. It timed out perfectly for us. Let's rock and roll. Of course, you provided one of the questions along the way for the Tribe Trivia Challenge. Second year in a row that we've done this, and it's come off so well and gotten so much good feedback from people that participate, even all the people that don't win, and it doesn't matter. It's fun and it's informational. We're doing this again. We're going to come up with one come Cavs playoff time. I'm going to do a Cavs one here, but this was the second year in a row. A lot of people involved, and I'll tell you guys what, before we even get into anything, there was a lot of breakdown in different. There was one person who answered. This guy answered all 6 of his answers were correct, but he didn't answer all 10 questions. But the 6 that he did were all correct. I will tell you that there was only one person again this year who answered all 10 questions correctly. There was one person who missed it by one question. There were a handful that missed it by a couple of questions, and then everything else was varied amounts from there. And we'll get into who won in just a second. But first, hey, why don't we reveal the answers to the 10 days, 10 questions Tribe Trivia Challenge. Plus, I thought it would be fun having you on here, see how many of these you may even have a shot at off the top of your head. But do you want to rock and roll with this with me, Jeff Gorman, and go through this here?
Yes, I'll try not to embarrass myself. I'll try not to miss the question that I came up with.
Well, there you go. You did. Absolutely. You provided one of them. And this was the cool thing about it, is that Jeff Gorman, Mike Brandenberry, Jonathan Knight, Dan Wismar, and myself and Bruce Wood all got together and came up with these questions for this. So it gave it a really varied thing. And plus, there started to be some competition because everybody was like, ooh, that guy had a good question yesterday. So now my question today's got to be pretty decent, you know? And I thought it was pretty varied. So we kicked it off with a real, this one's a drop. This one was just a Google search. This was just to get the contest rolling. But Indians all-time leader in hits and at-bats. Who would you take a stab at off the top of your head, Jeff?
I would say either Tris Speaker or Napoleon Lajoie. I'll probably say Speaker.
You had it right, but you went wrong with the second one. It is Lajoie. He is the leader in hits and at-bats, and that was the opening question. That's cool, though. Hey, off the top of your head, I'll give you that you had 2, and one of them was in there. All right, there we go.
All right.
Now it starts picking up. Question number 2. Who was the very first Cleveland Indians player ever to grace the cover of Sports Illustrated? And part B of the question was 1 month later, who was the second, just 30 days later, who was also on the cover. So within a month, 2 Indians players were the first and second on the cover of Sports Illustrated. You got any guesses who they may have been?
That's tough, but I'm trying to think back to when Sports Illustrated started, and I might be missing. But the 2 that I'm going to go with, I'm going to say Bob Feller and Bob Lemon.
No, you're in the right era a bit, but you're off there. The first Cleveland Indian to ever grace the cover of Sports Illustrated was Al Rosen in April of 1955, and Herb Score. 1 month later, Herb Score in May of 55 was also on the cover. So that was the answer to that one. It was Al Rosen and Herb Score, April and May of 1955. Question number 3. Who was the last Cleveland Indian to make their major league debut on opening day? Now, we actually found some varying answers here because some people dug up a pitching Now, there was only 2 people that gave me this answer, but since we decided that there were potentially 2 answers, even though Mike Brandenberry was specific about a position player, I did accept 2 different answers. It didn't really matter because 90% of the answers were the correct answer anyway. But the last Indian to make their major league debut, having never appeared before on opening day, who would you guess that it would be?
I would say Von Hayes.
No. Not even close.
Oh.
No. Actually, this one was surprising. It was Andy Allenson in 1986. Andy Allenson was the first Indian to debut on opening day. And we also discovered, although Mike had been specific about position player, that Steve Kline in 1997 made his major league debut in relief for the Indians that day. So we also accepted Steve Kline if anybody made that answer as well. But as I said, there were only 2 people that offered that answer, but I decided that we would take either of those 2 answers. However, the correct position player was Andy Allenson. And a side note on that is that was actually discovered after we asked the question, because the intended answer, as far as Mike Brandenberry knew, was Super Joe Charbonneau. And then in the process of digging it up, it was discovered that it was Andy Allenson who was the first or the last position player. And what makes that question interesting, too, is because potentially the next person to do that would be Francisco Lindor, although, he would probably have to come up at the start of the season because you would think late in the season he may get a call-up. But it's very rare that you get those guys that are called up without having even a taste of a September call-up before that. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But that was an interesting question. That was Mike Brandenberry. That's when things just started getting good, because that one sent people everywhere. We got a lot of different questions for that, too. A lot of wrong answers for that one, too. Next question, question number 4, was by Jonathan Knight. And we went to Major League, the movie. And it was, there's a line in the movie, he wasn't even a cast member, who was the opening day starting pitcher for the Indians. What was his name as he was referenced in the movie? And as a side note, it's also a name of a player in Cleveland Indians history. But do you happen to remember?
No, I don't have that one. But you're saying it's a real Indians player.
I didn't either. I didn't either. I was totally guessing other guys that were in the cast. But there's a line, if you remember, in the opening day shellacking there where it says, "That'll close the book on Keltner." Thank God. And
Keltner.
Yes, Keltner was the name, and of course that's a reference to Kenny Keltner from Cleveland Indians history. And so that was the name of the pitcher who was the starting pitcher and opening day starting pitcher for the Tribe in Major League, the movie. That one was from Jonathan Knight. Dan Wismar came up with question number 5. In Tribe franchise history, how many Indians have hit for the cycle? Well, let me start there. How many Indians have hit for the cycle in franchise history?
I would say 4.
7. 7 Indians.
7? Oh, wow.
Yes, 7 Indians have hit for the cycle. The second part of that question was, in that 7 Indians, only one scored just 1 run while they hit for the cycle, which would mean the only run they scored was on the home run. And I'm not even going to ask you this one because this is so obscure you would have to look it up. It's Odell Hale. In 1938, he had the unique distinction of hitting for the cycle for the Indians while only scoring 1 run. So that was question number 5, Dan Wismar. Question number 6 came from you, and that was,
all right,
what was the only, and it's the only time it's happened, the Indians were involved in the only manager-for-manager trade in baseball history. Of course, would you like to answer that, Jeff, or would you like me to?
I think it was Joe Gordon in 1960 when he was traded to the Detroit Tigers for Jimmy Dykes.
Absolutely. Joe Gordon for Jimmy Dykes in 1960. That was the correct answer to that one there, and a lot of you guys got that one right. Good job with that one, by the way, Jeff. Dan Wismar came up with question number 7. In Indians history, they've had 4 managers who had playing careers where they were named the Rookie of the Year in their career. Can you name those 4 managers?
Ooh, that's tough. I want to say Frank Robinson's one of them, right?
You are correct. Frank Robinson is one.
Ooh, the other ones are going to be kind of tough. Wasn't Jeff Torborg, was it?
No.
No. I'm trying to think of what managers were. They're probably some of the older guys that I might not know. Go ahead.
No, actually,
what were the
you'd
other
be
ones?
surprised. Alvin Dark, and then two you should have known off the top of your head. Although Sandy Alomar is an interim manager, so you would have had that in your head that you were also looking at those guys. And Mike Hargrove, of course. Mike Hargrove, the human rain delay would be the.
Oh, really?
So Hargrove, Alomar, Alvin Dark, and Frank Robinson were the 4 Indians managers who had been Rookie of the Year during their playing career. Question number 8. This was a good one, too, from Mike Brandenberry, showing the how many people don't stay in Cleveland, even if it's for a cup of coffee somewhere at the end of their career. Who was the last Indians player to have been an all-star and stayed their entire career with the Cleveland Indians? There's been more than one, but who was the most recent player who made an all-star game during his career and stayed with the Indians their entire career?
I think that's got to be Charles Nagy.
No, you would have thought so, but no, absolutely. I'll tell you, it was Al Rosen. Al Rosen is the last Cleveland Indian who, you had to go back a bit because JK and I were tossing that one out a little bit behind the scenes too, and we both had a couple of different guesses before you go, oh, wow, yeah. So definitely more when you think about it, look ahead, and everybody ends up doing a little bit of time somewhere else for whatever reasons. But yeah, Al Rosen was the answer to question number 8. Al Rosen's been the answer to a couple of questions here. All right, question number 9. This one got a lot of people too. Who was the last Cleveland Indians starter to both start and win, which means being named the winning pitcher back-to-back opening days for the Indians? The last Tribe starter to start and win back-to-back openers.
Wow, that's tough. I'm going to say Sam McDowell.
No, but you're in the area. You're getting close, but no. I took a couple shots at it, too, before I said, okay, I can't get this either. Rick Sutcliffe, 1983 and 1984. And then, of course, he was subsequently traded to the Chicago Cubs for Joe Carter and Mel Hall, and that was an interesting trade. And then Chicago went on to have some success. And it was so funny because Jonathan Knight and I were talking about that, and because that was his question from the other day. And as I kept bouncing wrong answers at him, he kept coming back to me, no, but I understand why you thought about that. And then Sutcliffe, and I go, man, I got to tell you, he's one of those guys. Every time I think of Rick Sutcliffe, I think of the Chicago Cubs. It's just, some guys are attached to some uniforms. And he goes, that's the kicker. And I'm like, I know. But you would have thought back because you would have thought it was CC. That was my first guess was CC. And then I looked back into the 80s and I was like, I don't know, maybe did Swindell perhaps, or, was it Barker? Was it Sudden Sam? And then he threw out Rick Sutcliffe. I'm like, wow, 83, 84. Yeah, last time I had a couple of people who said Masterson. Justin Masterson did start, and the Indians did win consecutive opening days, but Justin Masterson was not the winning pitcher on consecutive opening days. So that would be why Justin Masterson isn't the answer. And even if he was the answer, I went back and re-listened to the episode of the show, and he did infer that it was prior to Justin Masterson anyway. But either way, that's not the correct answer to the question. The correct answer is Rick Sutcliffe, 83, 84. And it all came down to question number 10, yesterday's question, because there was the possibility of a tie either with 9 correct answers or 10. This was a tough one, Jeff. And, you could just throw out a couple names if you think you got it. But we found out that in Indians history, there have been 12 people. Yes, that number has bounced around from 8 to 10 to 11 to 12. We have now verified the final number was 12. 12 people who have been television or radio announcers for the Indians were also, for at least one season, an announcer for the Cavs or for the Browns. So of that, we asked for 8. The correct answer was 8. That was what you had to give us. Anything over 8 was a bonus. We had the closest anybody got was 11 out of 12. We also had somebody got 10 out of 12 as well. But you want to take a stab at who you think are some of those 12 announcers who also did at least one season for the Cavs or the Indians? There's at least one that you'll go, man, I had no clue about that guy.
Well, Nev Chandler kind of jumps out at me, and
Absolutely.
so does Gib Shanley. They're on the list, right?
Nope, not Gib. I was surprised about that one. He did not do multiple sports. No, Nev Chandler is on the list. That's one.
How about Jim Mueller?
Yes, absolutely. That's
all right.
2 of the list.
I don't know if I can get any more of those. There's probably 1 or 2 that I'll be kicking myself about.
Oh, absolutely. A couple off the top of your head. Joe Tate, obviously. He did Indians and Cavs.
Oh, that's right. Of course.
Bob Neal. Here, I'm going to give you the list here. Bob Neal, Joe Tate, Jimmy Dudley, Ken Coleman, Casey Coleman's dad, Bill McColgan. That one was the most obscure, but we did have one person that nailed that one. Nev Chandler, which you named. Bruce Drennan, which was odd. We found out he did a season or 2 of Cavaliers TV as well as we did for the Indians. Jack Corrigan, if you remember, he was the he did a lot of things here in town. Did the news. He was a sports anchor. The Indians. Jack Corrigan, actually. And some of that came from the years when Sports Time Ohio had some crossovers and you had some of the same people doing multiple games and stuff. Jim Donovan has done 2 sports here as well as he's done Indians and Brown stuff. Here's the one that really got me. Fred McLeod. Fred McLeod, Cavaliers announcer, basketball guy. In 1979, Fred McLeod did 1 season with the Cleveland Indians on TV. Had no idea about that. Didn't remember. Well, I mean, I wouldn't have remembered it because it was just barely there. But that was nuts. I said, wow, Fred McLeod, I didn't even know. But yeah, that was the one that most people tripped up on. And Denny Schreiner is the 12th on the list, as well as Jim Mueller, who you already named. So those were the 12 that have, at one point or another, Indians announcers that went over. Now, I don't know. There may be crossovers between the Cavs and the Browns, but I didn't go that way. This was strictly Indians announcers who have done something with the other 2 teams, and that is the list there. Like I said, Fred McLeod was definitely the one that caught me the most, and of course, Joe Tate. Most people know that one off. Well, except you. Most people know that one off the top of the head, and so that is the list. And I'll tell you what, guys, I'm telling you, I get excited doing these because I like seeing what other people go and find out. Not just who gets them right, but I love every once in a while somebody will drop a line in there when they answer their question and it'll just say, I didn't know that. Thanks for asking that question, or I had no idea. And a lot of people said that about Fred here in their answer. And that's what the whole point of this is. It's not just to get people to listen or give something away or whatever. It's to get people to go, man, I never knew you could trade a manager. I never knew that happened before. I never knew, whatever it is, you know? And that really is my favorite part of doing this. So with all that being said, everybody sat there and listened through the whole litany of that. Who did win the 1972 Gaylord Perry jersey? The only person who got all 10 answers correct on this, and it's a new champion. Charles Morgan's just been holding out, waiting to hear. Charles Morgan won last year's contest. Charles got 9 out of 10 questions correct on this one. The only person to get all 10 questions correct, and therefore the winner of the 2015 Tribe Trivia Challenge, Brandon Williams. Congratulations to you.
Wow.
You are the winner. I felt bad for Charles because I know exactly what question he got wrong, and it wasn't even one of the most difficult of the questions, but my hat's off to anybody, whether it's Google search or knowing it off your head. Still, some of those were difficult to cross-check and chase down. Hats off to everybody who participated, but especially Brandon, who nailed all 10 of them, just like last year. Only one guy nailed all 10, and Brandon did it this year like Charles did last year. So congratulations to him. And you hear Jeff here. Jeff don't know none of them. So obviously, hat off to you there. I'm just messing with you, Jeff.
I know. That's amazing. Everybody did a really good job, and hopefully this will just get bigger next year, too.
Oh, you know it, coming for 2016 next year, but I'm not waiting for Tribe. I got so stoked, and over the weekend, I was reading another book on Cavaliers history I was talking about. I picked one up over the weekend, and it got my juices flowing towards trivia in that direction, and we're right in the middle of this contest. I said, man, we're putting one together. Come playoff time, we are definitely putting one together for the Cavaliers, because there's some nuggets that you could ask about that once again will leave people going, wow, I had no idea. And plus, with the Cavs, some of those you'll go, man, we're really fortunate to still have a basketball team. But things were great, and it was a fun contest. Congratulations again to Brandon Williams. Thanks to all of you guys who participated, whether you answered one question or whether you answered all 10. Thanks to Bruce Wood. Thanks to the Morning Wood for helping put this together. Thanks to Jeff Gorman, Mike Brandenberry, Dan Wismar, Jonathan Knight for helping put the questions together for this thing. And thanks to you guys for participating. And we're going to get with Brandon. I'll get with you off the air here, and we'll figure out how to get you your jersey. And, man, it's in the books, and just in time for the books to open on the Indians' real season here, even though it's spring training. Man, I know we just said it, fired up. First spring game today. I loved seeing the lineup get put out as the lineup for tonight's game, Jeff. It's going to be leadoff Jose Ramirez, Yan Gomes, Lonnie Chisenhall, Carlos Santana over at first, Murphy starts in right, Aviles at second, Tyler Holt, DH, Ramsey out in left field, and he's going to get a lot of work in the outfield this preseason, and Tyler Naquin batting ninth, center fielder. That's going to be the lineup for today as the Indians roll it out there. Of course, Zach McAllister is going to start. Other pitchers scheduled to pitch today, I see Charles Brewer, Brian Price, Nick Hagedorn among those who will be out there pitching today. And again, I know it doesn't count, but for at least a few minutes, you get that good warm sensation. Baseball's here. What are you can't see a lot, obviously, but what have you been most perhaps excited about or interested or piqued in, or whatever you want to have it, in what we've seen early on in the early parts of spring training?
Well, the best thing is that nobody's gotten hurt so far, and hopefully that'll continue. You know, if we can just keep everybody, I know what the lineup you just said, there's some missing names in there, but those guys are going to be kind of folded in to the lineup over the next couple of weeks just to make sure everybody's at 100% when the games really count. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with David Murphy and Ryan Rayburn, because there might not be room enough for both of them on this team, and so they're going to really have to produce and really actually fight for their jobs, I think, in spring training. And I'm also interested in those three guys at the bottom of the lineup, Ramsey, Holt, and Naquin. You know, they've got to take advantage of these at-bats while they've got them before all the other starters come back. I think that if one of those three guys can, you know, get hot, and I'd really like to see a young hitter like somebody like maybe Tyler Holt sort of make things difficult on the management and just really have a great spring and just be tough to send down and be the kind of guy that you want to bring north with you.
Yeah, for sure. And Dan Wismar mentioned Walters as a guy that he's kind of looking at in that there. And so, as you mentioned, working some of those other guys in. Terry Francona said Michael Bourne, he'll be in for Wednesday's game, so he'll be out there tomorrow for the first time. Brantley is going to debut Thursday in that game against the Reds. He said Kipnis should be out there most likely a few games after that. So, as you said, slow rolling a few of the guys out. And Moss and Swisher will both be probably a week or two at least out before they start getting any kind of work in. But slowly rolling the rest of those guys in. And I'm with you. I think Ramsey's another one that I don't know how much traction he can get in this spring training, but Terry Francona said he's going to get a lot of work in all of the different outfield spots. He's another guy that, depending on, like you said, how things break down out there in the outfield, man, that could also play into things, maybe not right out of spring training, but maybe later in the season or beyond. But Murphy, Rayburn, as you said there, that's going to be a part of that. But I'm intrigued. I liked Ramsey when we grabbed him. A lot of people were so mad that the Indians didn't go out and get a guy to help last year. I liked both Walters and Ramsey, both of the guys they brought in. I'm just going to kind of keep an eye on the corner of my eye on Ramsey here this spring training and see what he does. Not that I expect him to make a team now, but how far he can get towards making that a reality sooner than some people think, because I'm kind of intrigued on Ramsey. Walters too, but I'm kind of intrigued on Ramsey, man. Power out there and being able to play multiple outfield positions, especially in what was such a toss-away deal there in most people's eyes. I'm hoping they get some return for that too, because that would be a nice little return off of the Masterson deal.
Right, and you mentioned Zach Walters, who, of course, we got from Washington for Asdrubal Cabrera. They're going to play him really all over the place. In fact, Francona says, I have to limit him to certain positions all at once, so I'm not playing in 7 positions in 1 week. So that shows that he's got that kind of versatility that he's definitely going to like to use during the season. So I think that we're going to see Zach Walters in sort of the same role that Mike Aviles had in 2013, where he was really hopping in all over the place and, really contributing a lot. So we saw some good power out of Walters in the short time we had him last year. It'll be interesting to see if he can contribute a lot more this year.
That's what's so intriguing, is that power with him, man, because it's real and it's there, but so are the flaws in his swing. I mean, he strikes out a ton. I mean, power guys do that anyway, but, man, he's just – that's the one thing that you can't teach or whatever, I guess. Maybe you can teach him to have a better swing, but you can't really teach that natural pop, and he seems to have it. That's definitely one to keep an eye on, too, is Walters there. And, again, both of those guys, we're talking about deals that the majority of the public were very quick to frown upon, and I remember us talking about it. And I'm like, look, I know if you're only looking at it like, what does this guy do for us today? Okay, but I was actually surprised, and it's because they took on the salary that they did and did what they did, that they were able to up the level of prospects that they got.
And the strange thing was, we didn't really need them to contribute last year, because just getting Masterson and Cabrera kind of out of the way was able to open up some time for other players who really contributed quite a lot. And we talked about these young outfielders. We were really playing a lot of young outfielders down the stretch out of necessity, and they got a little bit of experience that will hopefully, especially talking about Tyler Holt, that will hopefully help him this year. So if he's able to either make the team or come up halfway through, he'll really be able to contribute, because they want these young players to either be playing down in the minors or playing up in the majors. You don't want them sitting on the bench, because it takes a certain mentality for a veteran to be a regular bench player like a Ryan Rayburn, but you want guys like Holt and Naquin and Ramsey out there playing every day and getting as much experience as possible.
Absolutely. Kind of like, it goes right in, this segues right in where I was going to go. I mentioned him while we were doing the trivia questions about Francisco Lindor. He would be the first guy in all those years since Andy Allenson in '86 to make his major league debut, if he were to do that, which it's not anticipated that happens here. But, right there, that's the same point that we made, that I'd rather see the kid play every day than, like last year, be a September call-up or whatever. I saw something interesting. There was a profile on him in the Plain Dealer, and one thing I noticed that I don't think I had ever really had this pointed out before was that throughout Lindor's run here up through the Indians minor league system, he is on average 3 to 6 years younger than the average player at every level he's been at. And that really speaks to how far ahead of the curve he is and his maturation level so early in his, was he 21 years old? But that shows you that he's at that bottom range of the ages everywhere that he's been moving up, which is what, obviously that's when you get those prospects that people are expected. And there's so much temptation. Everybody wants to see, and I'm glad to see what the Indians have done with him. So many people were positive that he would be a September call-up last year, and I really didn't think that was the right place for him to be. It just didn't seem like sitting on the bench there during what was a playoff run, whether you want to consider it that or not. I do, and I think the Indians did for the last stretch of the season. It just wasn't a place. He needed to play. Plus, he was showing that he could still catch back up to AAA a little bit, too. So I like that they've been able to avoid many clubs, especially small market clubs that have trouble with attendance. You fight the urge to bring the guy up a little earlier to try to sell a few tickets, too, to people that are intrigued by the new guy that they've heard so much about. And the Indians have stayed very true to their plan when it comes to Francisco Lindor.
That's right, and there's really two schools of thought. At one point you say, well, why don't we just start him at the beginning of the year? He might take his lumps a little bit, but, he's going to have to, get acclimated to the major leagues anyway, so you might as well just get him started, and then once he's, maybe June he starts to catch on and everything will be fine. But the other school of thought is, well, if you throw him out there before he's not ready, you could really have a setback, and it could destroy his confidence, and he would have to go back to the minors. If he's just really sinking the team by hitting 150, then you've set him back time-wise. So it's kind of hard to figure out what's the right thing to do. The good news is that we have Jose Ramirez, who just really stepped forward and showed that he can start at shortstop, so he can do that this year. The only thing is, if Lindor has a fantastic spring training, and or if something happens to Ramirez, if he gets hurt, they might end up having to go with Lindor, and that might not be the worst thing. But obviously the best way to go about it would be for Lindor to start at AAA and then to come up when he's really ready and when there's a spot for him.
Well, like you said, man, the emergence of Ramirez really kind of tweaked the formula, too, because he kind of, I don't want to say cutting the line, because it's not like he wasn't there, too, but in a lot of people's eyes, he kind of did, because a lot of people saw, Asdrubal in the way, and then once he got cleared out of the way, the natural progression was Francisco Lindor, and then it was like, oops, oh, wait a minute, it was one of those good oops, where you go, well, we didn't necessarily know for sure what we had here, but we're relatively happily surprised with what we've got. And I don't mean that, because it's not like there wasn't, it's not like he just came out of nowhere and he was some bum and surprised everybody. But a lot of people just took for granted that was Lindor's spot to take. And then boom, Ramirez now gives you, it's almost a luxury there to be able to truly continue out that plan. And now if Lindor makes it, it's going to be because he's one of the players that deserves to break camp and not for any other external reason.
Right, and it gets to a position where, you could be dealing from a position of strength. I mean, if you get to the middle of the season and everything's going fine with Jason Kipnis and, Ramirez is playing very, very well, and, Lindor is just carrying things up and he's hitting 400 in AAA and there's really nothing else he has to prove at AAA, then you have a situation where you can bring Lindor up and possibly trade Ramirez because you've just got an abundance and maybe bring in a pitcher if you're having trouble with pitching, or you could trade him for really anything that you still might need.
Well, there's a lot of potential there. This roster has a lot of room to move, as you said, not just internally but externally. And I still think that outfield log jam's going to play itself out, and there may be something in there too. And I liked a lot of people go, hey, well, what could you get for this guy, that guy? I like where Mike Brandenberry's thinking of it was too, is that perhaps the Indians make a move like that with a guy like Murphy, which is different from where you were just going though with a younger guy, but clear up some money, and instead of bringing somebody in now, save almost like keeping some salary cap space in football or basketball or whatever. But that the ownership's not necessarily going to say, here's an extra $5 million at the trade deadline, so you kind of pocket that there, and then you're able to reposition that at the trade deadline and maybe bring in some salary and help you with that stretch run there. And that's a good way to think of that too, because they've got so much depth that you don't necessarily have to deal out a guy and get something in immediate dividends.
That's right. It's going to be really interesting, again, to see if the Indians can, get all these pieces together and get off to a good start. So you're not just dealing with a position of strength from a talent standpoint, but also from a position in the standings where you're definitely in the playoff hunt and, you've identified, look, this is going really, really well, and there's maybe one or two spots that we need to shore up, and then you can really possibly make that deal, unlike the ones that Masterson and Cabrera last year, the kind of deal that really everybody's happy with. And all right, this is the person that's going to come in and maybe give us that boost down stretch.
You're listening to the Sports Fix. Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com joining us here. We're talking a little bit of Indians spring training as we're just a couple of hours away, or maybe by the time you listen to this, we may be in the books with the first baseball action of 2015, and feeling good, having some fun about it here, feeling like summertime, as you said, even if it's not necessarily looking like it outside. And some of the other things I want, just in general, what are some of the other things you've been keeping your eye on here? When I know the pitching, we focus so much on the who's going to get the number 5, and is Carlos Carrasco. Man, I'm loving the things that I'm hearing about Carlos Carrasco, by the way, because incredibly encouraging reports early on from him. But Trevor Bauer, equally as important, somebody we've brought up here, and so far, a lot of the talk is that he's been receptive. Because remember, at the end of last season, Terry Francona kind of put the shot across the bow a little bit on Trevor Bauer when he said, hey, kid, listen, we got a guy here that can help you. If you just open up your mind a little bit and let him do that, we think you got something here. And early on, it seems that that's definitely been part of it here. Where are you at with Trevor Bauer so far coming into this spring? What he's done in the offseason to get ready, and if you think, perhaps he is going to be more open-minded to being tinkered with, because he's one of those guys that, and I get that. I get knowing your own body. I get that nobody knows you better than you, I mean, that makes sense, and he's very in tune with himself. Some of the best athletes are, but at the same time, you've got a bona fide asset in Mickey Callaway here, and we all know if you could open that mind up of Trevor Bauer a little bit, it's scary how good the kid could be.
Right, I was about to mention Bauer, I think, because, he's got the physical tools that really made the Diamondbacks high on him, and which made us high on him when we picked him up. But I think that he is sort of the sleeper that people aren't really talking about, of someone who could really break out and maybe take that big leap forward. I mean, you've got, Kluber with the Cy Young season, and he's going to come back and, hopefully have a very good season. But, if we could possibly get Carrasco, and, I even think Carrasco or Bauer maybe has a better chance than maybe Gavin Floyd of really having an outstanding season and really, opening people's eyes and moving up to maybe the number 2 spot in the rotation. But I think that the fact we have these 2 young, dynamic pitchers, again, if they can just, sort of harness their skills the way Carrasco did at the end of last year, then you have a chance of possibly getting 2 or 3 really strong starters, and that's when you start to get in the territory that like the Tigers have, where you're really throwing guys out there that really strike the fear in the hitters' hearts as far as just from an effectiveness standpoint, if not a fastball standpoint. And then you can just hope that Gavin Floyd, I'm not expecting him to be great, but if he can just be solid and above 500, that's really all I ask from him, because he, as a veteran, he's a little more of a known commodity. Whereas you have someone like Bauer and Carrasco, your eyes kind of light up because it's like you haven't really seen everything that they could be yet.
And you know what? Some of it, too, and I'm with everything you said, is developing trust. Bauer, he's a young guy. Look, man, especially when you move around to a couple different organizations early in your career, every organization has different doctors, different coaches, different staffs. They tell you to do this a different way than that team, and this place and that place. And you see it a lot. These young players sometimes get twisted up where they don't know which way is up. They don't know which way is up and down because they've been given 15 different pieces of advice, and now they can't just get it back down to what worked for them to begin with. So I think part of that is part of the reason why you close yourself down to outside suggestion. And as we said, the Indians have said that this offseason here was the first time they really saw signs of true open-mindedness. Hey, we made some suggestions, and Trevor Bauer didn't just go, well, I'll take those into consideration. So I think part of it is trust. You work with people for a couple of seasons, and you start to go, okay, I can trust these guys. They're not gonna, because again, clubs do what's best for clubs, players do what's best for players, and it's a perfect world where we all go, hey, everybody works together, but that's not always the way it does. And one of the things I noticed Terry Francona talking about, Terry Pluto was pointing this out, was the difference in, and I didn't know this in ERA, this is where you get those advanced metrics that break down the splits, and the difference in first inning and then second through sixth inning ERA for Trevor Bauer was like nearly 2 runs. In the first inning last year, Bauer's ERA was over 5.5, but in innings 2 through 6, it dropped down to 3.8. So there was a big difference in what he did, and that's the whole course of second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth innings. And part of it, the Indians thought, was that Trevor Bauer was overthinking things in the first inning, throwing all of his pitches, using everything he's got instead of what they now want him to do, which is for the first inning going out there and going, hey, 2 or 3 pitches, fastball, changeup, slider, whatever it is, attack with a couple of pitches in the first inning, because once he gets through that one, he's able to get himself rolling a bit. But I guess when you think back, it makes sense because he always struggled a bit in the first inning, and it makes you wonder how much more effective he could be down in the 6th and 7th and 8th innings if he's not expending so much early.
Right, and that's the kind of thing that does make your eyes light up, because you know that pitcher is there who can pitch a 3.80 or possibly even a better ERA than that. You know he's there. He just wasn't around for that first inning, but, since he did it so, successfully over all those other innings, that's who he really is as a pitcher. It's just a matter of, exercising that Mr. Hyde so you can get to Dr. Jekyll. So, fortunately, it sounds like he's gotten, a little bit of maturity. Sometimes it just takes a little maturity and just a little bit of a dose of reality. Because you saw what happened this past season. He had his ups and downs. You can look at it and say, look, doing things my way, this is what happened. These are the results. And people are telling me to do it a different way. I really have nothing to lose than to try it, and things could possibly get better.
Man, Jeff Gorman, Indians101.com, talking with me here, and we're on the cusp of it, man. Zach McAllister is going to throw that first pitch. Indians will be out there playing, and we will be off and running with the Cactus League. And what is it? What do they got? 24, 20? Well, you get the inter-squad games, too. I'm not sure what the total is. It doesn't matter. A couple of weeks from now, man, it happens for real. And there'll be a sold-out opening day, as we mentioned. You may have heard, 11 minutes. And I'm hopeful. I don't know how quickly. I know it sells out early every season. Matter of fact, I think this may be the earliest that they've done the single game tickets. They actually gave the list here. Nope, I apologize. The earliest the opener ever sold out was in 2013. It was February 25th when they put them on sale. But 11 minutes may be the fastest that opening day is sold out. Although it's not technically sold out. It's sold out from the single ticket aspect, but there are still season ticket packages out there, and obviously there is opening day tickets involved there. But still, it does show that maybe it's just opening day right now, but it is there. The fever is there. Man, if the Tribe can get to a hot start, this is my thought, Jeff. All BS aside, if the Tribe can start well, while the Cavs have the town feeling good at the same time, because there'll be playoffs happening, starting anyway, right at the time the season starts, man. There can be some good vibes going on if the Tribe's playing well. I'm not saying they got to come out and win every game and they got to look like the 95 Indians, but if they come out and they get some people feeling good, at the same time the Cavs have got people feeling good, especially while the Browns have got people going, who? Josh McWhat? At that time, you can take advantage of that, and then maybe that carries over. And that's why I think a good start to this season is doubly important for the Indians, because you're going to have good vibes. And I don't care. I'm not one of those isolationists from the different teams. I believe that it all carries over as a civic vibe. And I think that you could get some really strong, positive sports vibes going on around April, May, hopefully June, with the Cavs and the Indians down there. So if the Tribe has a good first 4, 6, 8 weeks of the season, that can carry over, and then maybe we start filling some of them seats up and start having a little bit of an Indian summer, because I'm telling you, man, I think that anybody sleeping on this Tribe team is definitely going to be in for a good surprise come this summer. I've just got a feeling that the Indians this year are going to be what a lot of people thought they may have been last year.
Right, I think so too. And I think that people are slowly starting to get the message. I mean, the fact they sold out in 11 minutes, if anything sells out in 11 minutes, that means that some people are excited about it. So that's a good thing. So I think people are starting to get the message that, the Indians have put together 2 winning seasons in a row, and they're looking good again, at least on paper. And I think that the fans can be confident that the Indians aren't going to just completely come out and lay an egg and be a bad team. I mean, we can be pretty certain that they could be a good to possibly, very good chance of having another winning season. And that's the kind of thing that you finally start to turn the fans, perception around as to whether this is a team worth following or not. And like you said, if Indians get off to a good start, people say, hey, the Indians are for real, and they're going to be fun to follow throughout the season.
Right, and then you get the vibe going, especially if the Cavaliers, even if they don't finish it, if they just get a good playoff run, maybe it falls short, but people feel good about it. Regardless, that vibe, the Cleveland's feeling good, you're going to want something to attach that to, man. So you transfer that over to the Indians, man, and it like I said, it's just a small piece of it on top of the Indians fans and their excitement, and it's just, I think that the window is there for them to take advantage of what's already going to be there right 90 feet to the left of where they're at right now, and it can all play off of each other. As my man Big Bob from Connecticut would say, it all starts with those young Indians, but maybe it starts with the Cavs, but it'll end with the Indians. See, ESPN just sent me a little blurb on my phone, said Indians need only 11 minutes to sell out the home opener. And one of the other cool things about that, Jeff, is that most of that is single tickets, because as we know, it's not like they've got a truckload of season tickets sold. They've got, 10,000 season ticket base. Maybe it's a little bit more. I'm not positive on that, so don't quote me. But that means that the majority of those were single ticket, which means there's 20, 30,000 fans out there that are fired up right now, and that number can get bigger as it goes. So it's not like they're not there. Just gotta get them there, man. But that's talk for another day. Today, they're playing baseball, baby. Tomorrow, they'll be doing it again. They don't have a day off for 3 weeks, and I love it, man. I love it, Jeff Gorman. How about you?
I can't wait. It's going to be fun to watch. Just check out all the box scores from each of those games, even though they're meaningless, and see how individual players are doing. And slowly, the puzzle and the picture will all start to materialize.
I just loved it when today, for the first time in 6 months, you pop up whatever your website is, whether it's ESPN or whatever, and they got their scoreboard at the top, and for the first time in months, first time ever in 2015, it says baseball across the top, Cleveland, Cincinnati, the first one right there across the line. You go, yes, indeed. Baseball is back, man. So I can't wait. 3:05 for that one. And Jeff, you and I will talk some baseball next week. Friday, we're going to do some free agent talk, man, as we'll be right there and maybe get some idea perhaps by then who the Browns may be looking at and signing, as this weekend they'll be able to start putting pen to paper with some of these guys, and we'll get an idea for who they're going to add to that incredibly awesome first free agent signing that started things off. Incredibly, underwhelmingly awesome, but whatever, man. But you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to end this conversation feeling good, because actually I got to go there in the next segment anyway. But I'm not going to ruin the rest of your day. You go enjoy it. No, I'm just kidding, man. You go enjoy the Indians opener. Get ready to talk some Browns free agency with me on Friday, my friend.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, J-Rocc. You have a good rest of the week. We'll talk to you later.
You got it. Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com with us here. Thanks for going through the Tribe Trivia Challenge with us. Thanks to you guys for participating, and congratulations one more time, Mr. Brandon Williams. You are the 2015 Tribe Trivia Challenge master. All 10 questions answered correctly. The only person to nail 10 out of 10. Guys, let's take a break. Get you some news. When we come back, I'm going to open up the phone lines. 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535. We'll talk a little bit about NFL as the Browns have some names swirling around them. More teams cutting some players loose. We'll take your calls. Where are you at with the Browns as free agency is getting ready to go? Who would you? Hey, look, we're not even talking about the position under center. Who's out there that's actually available that you think would make a good fit for the Cleveland Browns? Let's talk about it when we come back. We got Cavs and Boston preview, Horizon League tournament talk, and more. Don't go anywhere. Hour 2 of the Sports Fix. We're talking some Browns next when we come back. 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535. We'll be right back after the news here on The Fix.
This is the Fresh Prince's new definition of summer madness.
The Sports Fix, your choice for intelligent talk.
I'm expecting a very important delivery at the house, so could you please call me if it arrives? I'll give you my cell number. 401-555-1125.
440.
No, I was just repeating the 4. 1-4.
14.
Intelligent talk.
Okay, 1125.
1125. 155.
I'm not giving you quantities of the numbers. I'm giving you the numbers. 1125. Those are the last 4 numbers.
Oh, I see. 1125.
Yes. All right. Now read the number back to me.
Let me get my pen.
The Sports Fix will be right back.
I'm Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to The Sports Fix.
Today on Save on Taxes, we ask 100 people what costs less than filing your taxes with IRS Free File.
Car seat.
Oh, a pair of shoes. The correct answer is nothing. When you use Free File, you get brand name software, tax prep, e-filing, and help with the new healthcare provisions, all for free.
So, did we win anything?
Everybody wins. freefile.irs.gov. It's fast, it's safe, it's free.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
Whether it's an oil change or a new set of tires, Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck has you covered for your car care needs. They're your neighborhood quick service experts. They also offer a low price tire guarantee. Choose from 13 brands, and if you find the same tires at a lower price within 30 days, Quick Lane at Valley Ford will refund the difference. 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 bridge in Valley View. Come see why life is better in the Quick Lane. quicklane.com/Valley Ford Truck.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Harry Buffalo. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
News break.
Kevin, Winter Conference tournaments officially begin today, which means March Madness is here, although most of the power conferences are in their final week of the regular season. The Big 12 could be the most intriguing tournament next week, given the depth of the conference and the unpredictable nature. Last night, if you went to bed early, no one would blame you. Oklahoma led at Iowa State by 21. And then Hilton Magic.
And getting around that screen to the right side is Thomas. Fires across to the left. Nader just into the game. Abdul Nader drives the post and kicks it to Hoke. This time he shoots for three. And it goes down for the first lead of the night for Iowa State.
Capping a 22-0 run over a 5-minute stretch. Mark Kestisher here on ESPN Radio. The Cyclones beat the Sooners 77-70. Keep their chances of at least sharing the conference title alive. The result at Ames also meant for the 11th consecutive year, Kansas will at least share the Big 12 title. Also last night in the Big 12, Baylor and Texas played the feud. A midcourt scuffle late in the game led to 7 players being ejected, a game the Longhorns won and needed. They're on Joey Brackett's first 4-out category. Big 12 semifinals and finals next week, right here on ESPN Radio.
With the new Citi Double Cash Card, every purchase gets a little sweeter because it's the card that lets you earn 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. With 2 ways to earn cash back, it makes a lot of other cards seem one-sided.
You're listening to The Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix live across the Sports Fix Radio Network. J-Rocc, Jerry Myers, back with you here, rolling on. Thanks to Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com for joining us. We talked Tribe for over the first hour of the show. I'm fired up, man. It's the first day of spring training. We gave away that Gaylord Perry 1972 jersey to Brandon Williams, who was the winner of the 2015 Tribe Trivia Challenge. And, man, can't feel much better, you know. The Cavs getting back at it tonight, man. And Browns. Hey, you know what? We're going to talk a little bit of Browns here. Phones are open for you guys. 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535 is the number to call. The Browns have some people coming in. Matter of fact, Brian Hartline talked about this week. And you know what? As I get started, I mentioned it before the break. I can't do anything. I can't. You can't. I can't. We can't do anything about the choices they've already made. So we're going to skip that part of the conversation as you guys, I see the phones ringing. We'll get to the phones here in just a second. And moving past that. By the way, before I get into the football conversation. You hear the music in the background, and traditionally this time of the Tuesday show, this is where Dr. Football, Bill Checkus, joins us. Bill, not with us here today, and for at least a little while here in the near future, won't be with us on Tuesdays. We are going to try to surprise you and drop him in from time to time, but Bill dealing with some personal stuff and some health issues, and just keep Bill, Dr. Football, Bill Checkus, in your thoughts, in your prayers as he takes care of business. And of course, he's always got a spot waiting for him right here, and he's not gone, not forgotten, but he's got some serious stuff to deal with, you guys. So just keep him in your thoughts and prayers, and Dr. Football will be with us when he can. But today, I'm going to pick up the conversation without him. As I said, Browns, regardless if you like who's throwing the ball to the receivers, they do got to go get some wide receivers. One name who's visiting the Browns today, Brian Hartline from the Miami Dolphins, of course, from Northeast Ohio, well, Canton, middle part there, and Buckeye alumni, and I think you're going to see that be prevalent in some of these things. We heard Teddy Ginn here. You see that Buckeye pipeline start moving some guys, but Brian Hartline, I like Brian Hartline, by the way. I like Brian Hartline way more than if we signed Teddy Ginn. I mean, it's not a drop the world on the side of its ear type of thing, but he's still on the plus side of 30. He's underneath 30. You know, he's 28 years old by the time the season starts here, man, and he's still productive. He was a salary cap casualty cut, of course. Remember, he's been with the Dolphins for, what's he played since 2009, so you know, he's got some years behind him, but still on the good side of 30, and he's out there now in the free agency market as he's been cut loose. Browns clearly need wide receivers before we even go anywhere else. I mean, that is without a doubt. 6 years with Miami. Brian Hartline, 6'2", 200 pounds. He's caught 298 passes to be exact, for over 4,200 yards and 13 touchdowns. 2012, 2013, he had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Last year, Miami changes their offense around, went to a different type of lineup, different receivers, a lot less looks for Hartline. Last year, caught 39 passes for 474 yards and 2 touchdowns. But, as I said, the 2 previous seasons, he averaged double that. 75 receptions, more than 1,000 yards before he was phased back in the offense. So he's not a big touchdown guy, as people will point out to you, but he's definitely a guy that can move the sticks and make the big catches. He's always been a very consistent receiver. I mean, Brian Hartline, the Browns could do a lot worse than adding him to the receiver core. As a matter of fact, if we're making a choice, and I'm not saying that the Browns are, I would take a Hartline obviously over Miles Austin. As much as I like Miles Austin, I hope the Browns find a way to bring him back. I hope Miles Austin still has some stuff in the tank there, but Brian Hartline, to me, I could dig with that, absolutely, for sure. And I think that he'd be good in that spot there as that veteran receiver that's still, he's got a little bit more, I think, than even what Miles does in the tank. But I'm not all jumping on it because I'm a Buckeye honk or whatever. That's a signing that I think would make the Browns better than they were before they signed the guy. That's one of the plays. I would definitely take Hartline over Teddy Ginn. Seriously, all day long, twice on Sunday, man. I think the Browns could do worse than that, and I think he could come in here and be in between at least what he did in those 12 and 13 seasons and what he did last year, which, even if you look for the in-between, look at the average, you would still be looking at probably 60, 65 receptions, probably about 700-800 yards. However, that's a dangerous projection because we're not projecting Tom and Jerry throwing him the football like what we may have coming up this season. And if that's the case, they better hope that new dog mascot really is Brutus that's over there hanging out in the doghouse, because that's the only thing that may save him at that point. But I don't know if Frick or Frack can get him the ball, but at least Hartline is a good person to have out there receiving. And I could see that's a good way to upgrade your wide receiver position. You bring in a guy who's got he's not on the downside of the veteran in a Hartline. You draft a guy or two perhaps maybe even bring back Miles Austin as well. Then you've got a couple of veterans in there. You've got Hawkins coming back. You've got some young guys. You've got Gabriel and Benjamin, and then the guys, whatever you may draft. Those are your group of young wide receivers. You mix in Hartline, Austin, and Hawkins, and there you've got a decent wide receiver core. It's not going to wow the league, but it's definitely not going to be as bad as what you've had perhaps the last few seasons. Although, hey, I saw Greg Little got cut the other day with the way we look to be driving competition lately. I don't know, maybe he might be in the Browns' thoughts. I'm just kidding. They can't possibly be that ridiculous. Although I would have said the same thing on Friday when it came to Josh McCown and Johnny Manziel being your quarterback competition. So let's not put anything past him. I can already hear it now. Ray Farmer going, well, Greg's always been a quality guy and he works hard after practice and we think that he deserves a second chance and we think the talent's there. Well, what makes you think the talent's there? His college film? Okay, then. I'm just saying, my college film will make you think the talent's there too, but I'm not in the league, am I? Just anyways, I'm having some fun. But outside of that, I started to go into that bad position. We're ignoring that. We're talking about positions where free agents could help the Browns. Another name defensively that we've heard out there is Jerry Hughes, coming from Buffalo, perhaps, as a name that may be interesting. Of course, the Buffalo stuff, obviously Pettin's very familiar with those guys. Coming from over there, and they did the Bills not to put the franchise tag on Hughes, so he's going to hit the market here, and he's going to be out there, and that's definitely somebody that I think would interest Mike Pettin, absolutely, as he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Browns have their own holes to fill here. Looking at their own guys coming out, it looks like they're bringing none of them back. They didn't tag Jordan Cameron, which I'm totally cool with that. Let him go out there and see what kind of market there is for his services, and then he can come back or not come back. So I don't know about that, but it looks like, obviously, Brian Hoyer, that ship has sailed. So you look at Ruben. I talked about it the other day. I don't know what's going to happen with Ruben, because I'm telling you, I would think Ruben, knowing just the things that I know about him off the air and outside of this, would be willing to work with them. But I don't know if they may not be interested in just even going that way. But you need to beef up the defensive line no matter what. You got decisions to make on Taylor, you got on Ruben. That's where Hughes comes in. That's a guy that's, again, talk about being on the good side of 30. He's young. He's right in his prime, 26 years old. Hughes is a stud. He can go out there and play. Look at what he did last year, 10 sacks. The year before, another double-digit season with 10 sacks. He's really able to get after the quarterback. Could you imagine putting Jerry Hughes at the end of the Browns, either end of the Browns defensive line? You're instantly plugging a 10-sack a season guy here. That's a sack every other game guy. That's a big piece to add. That could be an interesting, for all the people that are, Dominican Sue is another name that I've seen thrown out there. I'm not interested in him, even though I know what a game changer he can be. I totally know. But Jerry Hughes is one I would be very, very interested if the Browns could go out and get this guy. 6 years in the league, 26 years old, a motor that doesn't stop, and familiarity with Mike Pettin here. That could be a piece plug in, because the one thing about this defense is that we see it. You guys see it, man. If the Browns could get to the quarterback faster, this defense could be one of the top in the league, because they've got talent at the positions, but your cornerbacks become so much better when you're getting to the quarterback in 3 seconds. And when you're harassing that quarterback, all of a sudden that defensive secondary, Justin Gilbert will look like a heck of a lot better first-round pick if we get a little more pressure on the quarterback. And speaking of losing your own guys and defensive backs, Buster Screen, that's a tough decision Browns are going to have to make there too. But Jerry Hughes is another one that I'd throw out there. He had a couple of forced fumbles as well last year. That's a guy that I hear the Browns may be hot on, and I would, again, be very positive with that addition to this team. That would be a great look at that. Add that free agent acquisition to the pieces they've added on defense. When you look at veteran guys that can play and still ball out on defense, Dansby and Kruger, who really improved last year. Think about that now. Now you got Kruger back the way he was attacking the quarterback. You put Hughes on that defensive line. Maybe, and it's hard to project what you're going to get out of Mingo, but we all get tantalized by the talent. So you could project him being out there. But, you've got some guys now to get after the quarterback. I think there's still that, some sleeper guys on the defensive line. Armani Bryant, a guy that showed some skill before he got hurt of being able to get in there. This team could get after the quarterback. I mean, look, they're going to have to. We know offensively what's wrong with this team, and that's going to be wrong all season long. That doesn't mean that this team can't have a hell of a defense, and I think you had a piece like Hughes that could go a long way to that. Let's go to the phones and see what you think. Caller, you're up on the Sports Fix.
J-Rocc Daddy.
LG baby, what's happening? Larry, what's happening?
J-Rocc Daddy, how the hell you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, my friend?
Well, I'll tell you the truth, J-Rocc. I'm wondering how I'm going to be doing this off season with the Cleveland Browns going into free agency, and
a lot of people are wondering how they're going to be doing.
You talk about the Miami receiver. Let's not forget the fact that he had a capable quarterback throwing him the football in Tannehill.
I know.
This is the guy. Obviously the Cleveland Browns could have took this guy. They could have took so many guys that would have made so much of a difference to this football team, Jerry, over the last 7-8 years. It's just flabbergasting to me how we can be still in the same position we were in after the 1999 season 15 years later, brother.
I know. Trust me, Larry. And I would hope that you and I cannot. It's so easy for us to go that way. For where we go, let's not go that way. But you're right. I mean, all the
I'm not going that way, J-Rocc Daddy. I'm just a little bit.
What you said is
when you
right,
look,
because
when you look at the Browns' needs, okay?
Go ahead.
And you look at some of the people out there in free agency, like you were just talking, Jerry Hughes, that definitely makes sense to me. Let's bring in another guy that's capable of pass rushing. Big Phil Taylor, obviously, throughout the injuries over the past couple of seasons, has been a bit of a letdown. You're right about Kruger. This guy's a beast. He's finally playing to the potential that he wanted to play into. With the Baltimore Ravens, who was just strictly using him as a third down guy on the defense. And then we talk wide receivers, and the Cleveland Browns need for wide receivers. Randall Cobb is a free agent this year. We know the Browns probably wouldn't go after him. Julius Thomas from the Denver Broncos, that looks like a good pickup, but the Browns probably can't afford him, or won't afford him, I should say.
Well, see, you know what? I agree too, because I think with the question marks at quarterback, it doesn't matter how high you try to overpay a guy like Julius Thomas. I just can't see why a guy at that point in his career, at that stage, would take that risk. I mean, that's a huge leap of faith. Like you said, when you quarterback, it doesn't just matter to the fans or whose name is on the jersey that you wear to the game. That's the guy that's got to get that man the ball. And so I think I got to be honest. I don't even know if the Browns could overpay. I was talking to somebody over the weekend, and they kept bringing up Thomas is a guy that my friend is big on. And I'm like, I don't know that if the Browns offer to overpay him, unless it was just an absurd amount of money, I don't know that he still wouldn't say the difference in the money isn't worth at some point money talks, but the opportunity does as well. And so I don't know, because that's obviously a piece I'd like. I see the Browns ending up much more at tight end going a Jermaine Gresham route. I could totally see a guy like that, which I'd be okay with, except the injury issues. That's the problem. Guys like Charles Clay and Jermaine Gresham and some of those guys are good tight ends when they're healthy, but they're not healthy every game of the season. But I think they end up much more.
Well, that brings us right back to Jordan Cameron. I mean, if Cameron didn't suffer the concussions after concussion after concussion and the shoulder injury, his career may have been completely reshaped, and we wouldn't even be having a conversation about a tight end for the Cleveland Browns, because if he could have lived up to his true potential and had a quarterback that could have delivered the ball to him more often, like in your good old days, the beginning of Hoyer, not the end of Hoyer.
Right.
Cameron probably would have been franchise tag, J-Rocc. You'd be stupid not to take a guy like that and put the tag on him. But obviously injuries and unfortunately injuries are a big part of the game. But let's talk about what you just said a second ago. Free agent market. Maybe a guy like Julius Thomas don't want to come to Cleveland because you got to have a guy that's going to deliver the football to you to make a difference. Now,
absolutely,
what people don't seem to realize your numbers speak volumes to your worth at free agency. If you can't produce the numbers through no fault of your own, J-Rocc Daddy, then your worth as a football player is going to go downhill. So if you're a guy wanting to come and, let's just say the Cleveland Browns want to overpay you, now, as an agent, and I'm your agent, you're Julius Thomas, I'm going to sit you down in a room somewhere, I'm going to say, Julius, unless these clowns are willing to give you enough money to satisfy the rest of your playing days, I wouldn't go to Cleveland.
Right, and that's my point.
Reason being, J-Rocc, is if you don't produce the numbers that you've produced till now in your career, your next contract is going to be worthless.
And plus, in the NFL, it's a little different than NBA or baseball when you plan out your next contract, because there's always a next contract unless you get hurt in those other sports. But very rarely do people get to a third contract in the NFL, because usually the length of time is already the course of your career. I agree with you, and that's why I don't see that happening. Now, let me throw a name out there. It's not at tight end, but while we're talking about pass catchers, and I was pitching this to some people off the air, and then you guys listening too, hit me up Facebook or Twitter and let me know what you think. But I would be on board with the Browns coming in next year. Let's say you sign, I would sign two veterans. Say you don't go with Miles Austin. What's wrong with signing, say, a Cecil Shorts and a Brian Hartline in free agency? Those are two guys that can still go get it, but they got some experience. Hartline's been playing for 6 years. Cecil Shorts a little bit younger. He's only been playing for 3. And then you've got Hawkins. That'd be your third receiver. You draft a guy here, whether you take him in the first round or the second. There's going to be some receivers that you can get there early. And then you bring in your couple of guys that we said carry over when you talk about Gabriel and Travis Benjamin. But, let's say you're starting 4 receivers heading into camp. The Browns could do a lot worse than your 4 guys being Hartline, Cecil Shorts, Andrew Hawkins, and your first receiver that you take in the draft at whatever position you take him. The Browns could do a lot worse than a grouping of those guys mixed in with the guys that they have.
Well, you know what, J-Rocc, I'm going to go backwards a little bit on you here. I'm going to talk about something that a lot of people don't talk about. It's not the glamour of a professional football team, but my goal as a Cleveland Browns general manager this offseason would be to bolster my offensive line depth. Because if you look at the Cleveland Browns, and we lost Mack, and Joe Thomas is getting up there in the years, let's face it, the guy's not going to be around forever. We got 2 capable running backs in the backfield for the first time in the last several years that can run the football. But the problem is, J-Rocc Daddy, if you're not going to bust open holes, you saw when Mack went down, not that it only affected the quarterback play for the Cleveland Browns, it also affected the running game. And if you can control the pace of the game with the run, especially if the winners are going to be harsh like this winner right now, you got to be able to run a football. And I got to tell you something, man. I know you're looking at wide receivers, you're talking quarterbacks, you're talking this, you're talking that, but you know as well as I do, Cleveland Browns football history with smash mouth, let's run that football, Kevin Mack, Ernest Biner, who did a great job on the Sports Fix show a few weeks back. I got to tell you, J-Rocc Daddy, I'd be looking at how am I going to bolster the depth of my offensive line. And free agent-wise, I've scoured it this morning, and I don't really see any big-name offensive linemen that are sticking out like a sore thumb.
Well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. And you don't build your offensive line in free agency. Offensive and defensive lines need to be built through the draft. You draft them young, and you build them up. You develop your own. Now, I do think they're going to get 2 offensive linemen this offseason for depth, and I think they're going to draft one, and I do think they're going to sign one because they will sign a veteran that can back up and swing a couple of positions. I mean, I think they're going to draft somebody relatively high in the draft, probably around the same position where you grabbed a Batonio last year. And that'll enable you to have a lot more depth and a lot more options on your offensive line because that's the key mistake I think a lot of teams make is it's very often when you go out and you get that name, especially free agency by the name is a fool's game anyway because you're gonna get all kinds of players that have great looking football cards on the back, but they don't play anymore. They're no good, And usually when you see a big-name offensive lineman out there, very much of the time they're already on the downhill. But even if they're not,
unless it was a deal of a franchise,
well, what I'm saying is it doesn't
the salary cap or something like that.
Well, yeah, an emergency situation.
You don't see these guys out on the open market.
But not only that is it doesn't usually work when you do. Think of how many times guys will go and sign a free agent's guy and plug him in, and it doesn't work as well. That's why drafting and developing, because guys, you get them together.
Well, that's why I'm talking offensive line, because the draft's coming up. There's a lot of talk about the Browns maybe trading away and doing something stupid, maybe taking
That's
Mariota.
Why they can't. That's why they can't, Larry. Exactly what you just said. You got to draft offensive line. You got to draft defensive line.
Right.
You got to get a wide receiver. So you can't go giving these picks around to monkey around and maybe take a chance at a quarterback. Although, Lord knows,
an unproven quarterback that plays in a spread offense that is not proven one thing in the NFL yet. J-Rocc. This could be another Johnny Manziel coming in.
That's why anybody that wants to watch the Browns win some games this year had better keep looking on the defensive side of the football, because that is going to be what defines this Browns team this season, is whatever you get on the defensive side of the ball. And I do believe that they can bolster what was already a decent defense into being one of the better defenses. I mean, seriously, the Browns are going to have
just like that guy said on your show the other day when you were talking Cavaliers basketball, when you stop the other team from scoring points, it makes it a heck of a lot easier for your team to win.
And you're going to need to win a lot of 3-0 games and a bunch of 6-3 games here, so you're going to need a defense.
The schedule this season is a whole lot tougher than it was last season.
We all know that. It's unbelievably tough, and we know that, man. The Browns are going to be in defensive battles. They're going to need – see, that's the other thing, though, that may work in your advantage when you bolster up your defenses. You're going to play some teams that like to get down and get into those defensive games. So you're going to have a chance to play your type of football if the Browns want to, and they're going to have to, because any of you, if you think we saw a lot of 3-and-outs last year, you ain't seen nothing yet. But defensively, you don't have to put a bag over your head, because the Browns can definitely give you something. And you know what? Listen, if they bolster up the wide receiver core a little bit, you'll make whatever of the two, frickin' frat quarterbacks back there, they'll still look a little bit better if you give them like a Brian Hart. I look at a Brian Hartline like a Brian Brennan type of guy. He is that possession receiver that you can count on to catch the ball when you need to get a first down. Like Miles Austin, but better. I don't mean better, but able to produce more, a little bit more athletic, because the injuries haven't got him as much. And
well, J-Rocc, Daddy, not to interrupt you, but
go.
First thing you got to remember is this: one word can sum up the entire Browns offense right now, and that word is mess. This offense is a mess. It's more of a mess now than it has been in the last 5 years, if you want my opinion. We're bringing in a new offensive coordinator who's telling people he's going to copy the playbook that Shanahan left behind. I don't believe it. Everybody has their own taste. That's number one. Number two, I don't want to talk about bad things, but signing the quarterback, McCown, that we just signed, the man is noted for doing stupid things near end of games. His 1-10 record speaks volumes to that last year.
We know.
So, having a possession receiver is one thing, but having a guy that can make solid decisions to getting the football to that guy, we don't have that yet, J-Rocc.
I understand.
And I don't see how we're going to take a guy that is in rehab right now, and probably, in my opinion, still stands. I'm hoping the best, but I'm thinking the worst, that he's in rehab strictly to save his job. And the other guy can't make a good decision to save his own life at the quarterback position, man. So, having a possession receiver is good, but I got to tell you, man, we got to concentrate on some way to run the football this year.
Absolutely.
And we're going to have to control the entire offensive plays by running that football. And once in a while, we may get lucky and strike down the field with a pass. But personally speaking, I'm not counting on that really highly right now, especially with the frickin' frat quarterback position that we have in Cleveland at this moment in time. Now, anything can happen between now and the NFL draft, J-Rocc, Daddy. And then March 10th, free agency starts. Anything can happen after that. I just got to tell you, I'm sick to my stomach over this Cleveland Browns offense, and I'm not thinking that they're going to do anything that's going to really light my fire this coming season offensively.
Hey, I'll tell you, I'm with you, man, and I'll tell you what, running back is something we didn't even talk about. I definitely think they need to also bolster there. I love the two guys that you got, obviously the young guys, but I think there's going to be two more added to that pile. Maybe one of them is one of the guys that were with us last year, but I think you'll see a veteran.
Well, DeMarco Murray's out there,
well,
and
they're not going
that's
there.
Obviously a big money guy.
They're not going there, but
huh?
Right, they're not going to go there. But there's a lot of guys that are out here, as you mentioned. There's guys like Ryan Matthews. A lot of these guys are over the hill, and you can't mess around with guys like a Steven Jackson, guys like I love Frank Gore, but he's done. You can't mess around with guys like that. Darren McFadden.
Well, don't forget Peyton Hillis is available.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Larry. Honestly, you just read my mind. I was going to end it with, of course, there's always old reliable. Peyton Hillis is a free agent once again. No, but I expect them, much like they brought in Ben Tate, to look towards a veteran running back to add to the young guys. And somebody that I wouldn't mind is Ryan Matthews, man. Ryan Matthews, he catches passes out of the backfield. He can do a lot there. I mean, obviously, it's not like San Diego's, not going to put up a fight there. Prime of his career, he's only 27. He's been playing for 4 seasons. That's somebody I would keep an eye on there. Obviously, the Browns aren't the only team. But I expect them to bring in a running back, which a lot of people are looking past, because I love West and Crow just like you do. But they've got problems, too. They've got rookie issues. They've got maturity issues. They're not a guarantee that they're going to make it.
And they got offensive, too.
That's true, too. And Larry, we didn't even touch the defensive backs. Buster, I think you and I are kind of like, on Buster Screen.
Well, I got to tell you something. Wait a minute, J-Rocc, Daddy. I would think it would be foolish to not re-sign Buster Screen.
Right, because who are you going to get?
This guy is one of the most improved players in the defensive secondary in years for the Cleveland Browns.
Well, I'm with you, but at the same time, but who are you going to replace him with? I agree with the improvement, but there's things about Buster.
Daddy,
but you're
every
right. Who are you going to
year,
replace him with?
the guy continues to get better.
I agree. I
know where you're at. So what do you do? You take a guy that you nurtured along.
That's it.
A guy that really, after his first season, we wanted to hang him on public square and publicly execute. He turned into a fairly decent cornerback, J-Rocc, Daddy. I mean, we've seen All-Pro Joe Hayden make mistakes and get burned several times a year, each and every year. So when you think about Buster Screen, and you look at some of the Hayden mistakes that we've witnessed over the past several seasons, I think it's a toss-up. I think both men are capable of making the plays, and I think both men are capable of making the mistake, too.
Oh, I'm with you. And again, who are you going to replace him with is the question that I keep coming back to. Who are you going to replace him with? But it goes back to where we started. On the defensive line, you bring in a guy like Hughes, you draft another pass rusher, you get a little more production out of Mingo. All of a sudden, Joe Hayden, Pierre Desir, Justin Gilbert, Buster Screen look worlds better than they already are, because now quarterbacks are literally having 2-3 seconds to get that ball out of there, and it's a lot different.
About it, J-Rocc. You take the pressure off the defensive secondary of getting burned every time. And, that's a big help to anybody that's out there.
It's one thing not to get burned. It's one thing to not get burned for the first 5 seconds. When you're into the second 5 seconds of the play, it's incredibly much harder when you're chasing guys for 10 seconds. If all you've got to do is lock a guy up for 3 to 5 seconds, the Browns can do that. Anybody can do that. Even lesser cornerbacks can do that. That's why teams with good pass rushes, their cornerbacks always look better than they are, because they don't have to cover.
No, don't forget, J-Rocc, it's becoming harder and more difficult to play cornerback in the NFL each and every year with all the rule changes, man.
Yep, and they flag everything, too. I get it. I'm with it, man. I'm with it, bro. Larry, great phone call, man. I appreciate the call, my friend.
Okay, brother. You just
Anything
keep up
else?
the good work, and like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what Farmer does as we get closer to the draft and again on draft night, hopefully he makes a few better decisions than he made last season. I'll talk to you soon, J-Rocc Daddy.
You got it, LG, my friend. Cleveland Sports 360. Good to talk some football with him. You guys, let me know what you're thinking here as the Browns a couple days away from being able to put pen to paper with some of these guys. We're going to take a break, final break of the day, come back, preview a little Cavaliers hoops tonight and more. Don't go anywhere. Vikings all set to start seeing who their opponent. Well, they'll know tomorrow when Coach Waters joins us. Tonight, Horizon League tournament begins. We'll talk a little hoops when we come back and wrap it up here on the Sports Fix.
When it comes to Cleveland sports, we go from
"You can't touch this"
to
"I can't watch this."
So listen to the Fix. It's easier on the eyes.
Guys, want to take just a second as we head into this break and remind you about the official business printing source of the Sports Fix, our friends at Signs and Ship. Signs and Ship, I'm telling you, Chris and Pam, they've taken care of me since day one, and they can do the same for you. Whether you're a small business that's already been established and you're looking to grow to that next level and expand your business, or perhaps you've got an idea that you just know is going to be a great business and you need to figure out how to brand it and how to promote it and put it out there, Signs and Ship is the place for you. If you need a logo, they can create one for you. They have a fantastic graphic designer. Business cards, signs, banners, yard signs, mobile advertising, anything you can think of that you need to promote your business, they've got it at Signs and Ship. The best thing about them, too, is each of their locations, whether it's the home base here in Elyria, Ohio that I work with, or their spots in Virginia, Florida, and Pennsylvania, it's all local sourced. Very important to me because we all understand that small business is the lifeblood of the community. So check them out, signsandship.com, or call Chris and Pam today, 440-323-6060, the home office in Elyria, Ohio. Signs and Ship, quality printing at affordable prices.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Fantasy Jocks. Looking to upgrade your league trophy? Check out fantasyjocks.com for championship belts, rings, trophies, and more. Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. Real time spent making real decisions, creating real victory.
I'm the greatest man in the world!
And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs.
The trophy's 12 feet high, and it is glorious.
Football, baseball, hoops, you name it, they have it. Plus, they have awesome draft kits and party supplies to make all your preseason activities the envy of everyone. If your league needs a ring, belt, or trophy, or you want to upgrade what you already have, there's literally only one place to go. If you're going to be a fantasy jock, do it right.
It's mine, the most magnificent belt ever created, and it's mine.
With America's fantasy sports superstore, fantasyjocks.com. Sportsfix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
Hey, everybody. Listen up.
Listen up, guys.
Hey, guys, listen up.
No one should ever hit a woman.
Not their wife, not their girlfriend, not their date. No woman should have to fear violence.
Especially not from someone they know and trust.
But that's the reality for too many women.
We have to change it.
It's up to each of us, because even one is too many.
Violence against women hurts all of us. Growing up, I was ashamed and afraid of my father when he abused my mom.
The worst abuse of power is when a man raises his hand to hurt a woman. We all have to take responsibility. So if you see someone threatening a woman, step up, speak out, and get help.
Dating violence hurts all of us. So step up and help end it. Because one is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
End the violence. Because it's wrong.
Because one is too many.
Hey, this is Antoine Jameson, and you listen to the Sports Fix.
Oh my God, it's him. Crank it, Jerry.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix, live across the Sports Fix Radio Network. Final segment of the show. J-Rocc with you guys here, jumping back onto it as we take you down the home stretch of this one here. And welcome back in, you guys. And phones are open, by the way, for the last couple of minutes of the show. 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535. If you can't get through to the phones, you can always hit us up. Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixCLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. Thanks to LG for that great call last segment, talking some Browns football. Let me know your thoughts about all of those things we were just talking about. Who would you like to see? Maybe you thought some of those ideas were good. Maybe you're in a totally different place. Let me know. Hit us up on Facebook and Twitter and say, hey, man, here's where I'm at. And well, of course, the clock starts on, was it the 7th, I believe they can actually start. So we're Saturday, I think they can start making some offers to guys, and then early next week is when they can make it official. But teams can start making deals this weekend, and they can make those unofficial deals. Unlike before where they had to pretend they were nudge, wink, wink. Now they get a few days head start on that. So we'll talk some more later this week. Jeff Gorman will join us. Thanks to Jeff for joining us earlier from Indians101.com. And not only did we talk about the Indians, who are, again, I love it. Click over here. It says game time, 3:05. Tribe getting ready to trot McAllister out there on the mound, and the Indians going to do the first of many spring training games here. The Battle for Ohio taking place in Arizona. 3:05. Indians and the Reds. Can't wait to watch it. Guess what? They do it again tomorrow and the day after that. Tomorrow, Dan Wismar will be here with us to talk about that. We're going to have as well. We've got a couple of things. I just got a text during the break, nailing down the schedule. We've got Coach Waters tentatively scheduled to join us, CSU Vikings men's basketball coach, tomorrow, as we'll know who his Vikings are going to face later on this week, Friday to be exact, in the Horizon League tournament. Matter of fact, we'll start there before we go anywhere else with things. Looking ahead to things, Coach Waters will be with us tomorrow. The Vikings, of course, waiting for tonight's games to begin the Horizon League tournament before they know who their opponent's going to be. I'm looking here at the updated brackets, and as it stands tonight, you're going to have Youngstown State and Detroit, 7 p.m. The winner of that one is going to face the Vikings on Friday, so it could be the Penguins, it could be the Titans. That's going to be the first order of business for the Vikings come Friday. Tomorrow, when Coach Waters joins us, we're going to know whether it's Youngstown State or whether it's Detroit that will be that second-round opponent for the Vikings. Should the Vikings prove victorious, they'll still have to deal with several other challenges, as the winner of their Friday game would advance Saturday to take on number 1 Valparaiso, who just knocked off the Vikings last Friday. And then should they advance beyond that to the championship, you still have number 2 Green Bay and number 3 Oakland, and whoever they play in the second and third round, they're looming out there as well. There is a silver lining scenario, a best case scenario for the Vikings should they win through to the championship round, and should number 2 Green Bay and number 3 Oakland lose along the way, the Vikings would come back to Cleveland and that championship would revert down to the Wolstein Center. But that's a real high. I mean, when you're 4th out of 4 seeds and the highest seed hosts the championship game, you've got to knock off 1 and hope 2 and 3 go down on their own. So that's a little bit too much. Right now, just got to focus on winning that thing. It starts tonight when the Vikings find out who they play. Youngstown State at Detroit tonight, 7 p.m. Tomorrow, Coach Gary Waters from the Vikings will be on here with us and talk about who their first opponent will be in the second round of the tournament coming on Friday. Speaking of the Vikings as well, a couple of individual honors for the team. Anton Grady, Trey Lewis, and Charlie Lee were each announced to the various all-league teams here that were put out yesterday. Grady and Trey Lewis were named to the All-League first team in the Horizon League, while Grady and Charlie Lee were both voted to the All-Horizon League defensive team. It is the first time players from CSU made the first-time All-Horizon League honors since Norris Cole, my man, Norris Cole did it back in 2011. It's also the first time since 1993 that CSU has had a pair of people named to the first team in the same season. 93, Gravel Craig and Sam Mitchell. I remember Sam Mitchell back when they played in the MCC back in those days. So it's been 2 decades since they've had 2 players named to the same squad there as they had this year. Also, first time in a couple of seasons that they've had players named, period, to the all-defensive team. Last time they did that was in 2012. DeAndre Brown and Trey Harmon were the 2 that did that. Anton Grady had a heck of a season. Only player in the Horizon League to rank top 6 in scoring, rebounding, field goal percentage, steals, and blocks in league games. In Horizon League play, Anton Grady had 8 double-doubles, ranked 6th in scoring with 15, averaged 9 rebounds, 9.5 a game to lead the Horizon League, and he was 3rd in block shots at 2 a game, 2nd in steals almost 2 a game, and 4th in field goal percentage. Great season for him. Trey Lewis as well. He finished the season 4th in the Horizon League in scoring, led the league, tied for the lead with 42 3-pointers. Great season for him as well. And the Vikings, as we said, they wait out tonight's game between Detroit and Youngstown State to find out who they're going to play this Friday in Valpo. Looking at the Horizon League first team, Kiefer Sykes from Green Bay, Khalil Felder from Oakland, Alec Peters, big man from Valpo, joined Grady and Lewis on the first team. Second team had Juwan Howard Jr. from Detroit, of course, son of the Fab Five player, Corey Petros, Greg Mays, Matt Tybee, and Steve McWhorter from Milwaukee rounded out the second team. On the all-defensive team, Vashil Fernandez from Valpo, Jordan Faust from Green Bay, Dante Williams joined Anton Grady and Charlie Lee. Good season for those guys. Bryce Drew from Valpo, they won the conference, and so Bryce Drew became the coach of the year here, and we'll find out, man, how the Vikings do and what Coach Waters feels about all those guys. We'll look back at the season and look ahead to the second season, the playoffs, with Coach Gary Waters from CSU tomorrow on the show. As I said, Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan, he'll be here tomorrow to talk about the first Indians game in the books, and we'll do some good stuff there. We'll talk Buckeyes hoops as well, and who knows what else we'll get into. Maybe he might want to jump in on some of that football talk we had today. Eddie Jansen, speaking of basketball, Eddie Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland is going to join us tomorrow. We'll talk some Cavaliers hoops as the Cavaliers get back into action tonight. They take on Boston. First game since they lost the double shot over the weekend, and of course that national game on Sunday with Houston. Good clash there. Houston was able to escape with the victory. Did cost him a game. James Harden will be suspended for a game for that shot that he took at LeBron. Couldn't believe that they did not give it more than just the traditional tech in the game. To me, that was a definite flagrant deal, but the league agrees with that as they've added a 1-game suspension there for Harden. I'll tell you what, Houston, look, you guys go ahead, and you know LeBron James is not my favorite person in the world, but y'all go ahead and brag about winning a regular season game if you want. Guess what? Those old Cavs teams used to do that too. They used to get really excited and do really cool dances after they won regular season games, and then they found out that that wasn't what won you championships. I hope that these teams meet up again, and then they can argue about who's the royalty and who's not. But I'm encouraged at the Cavaliers' odds in a 7-game series against the Rockets with the way that they played, missing one Kyrie Irving. That being said, I know that who was missing on the other side too. It doesn't matter. I don't think Houston can beat the Cavs in a 7-game series, and I hope we get a chance to find. I really think Houston may be the most competitive team from the West in a 7-game series with the Cavs. Golden State as well, because, I mean, when the Splash Brothers get going, they get going. But when you stop them, as we saw, Cavs matched up much better against Golden State than they did against Houston. So I think in a 7-game series, Houston would be more of a challenge than Golden State would. But anyways, we can talk more about that as we go, but Harden's going to be out of game for that one. Hopefully we get to rematch this in a best-of-7 come the month of, June. That sounds like a good date to meet again here. We'll talk about that, though, later. Cavaliers still got regular season work to do. They need to snap this 2-game losing streak. Kyrie Irving expected to be back tonight. Kevin Love should play. He's got a bit of a flu bug going on here. The last update that I had was that Kevin Love is expected to play. He's probable tonight, but keep that in mind. He may end up not playing. If he does, the Cavs should have a full slate with the exception of Sean Marion, who's been out. Celtics return to the queue. Celtics coming in 23-34. Cavaliers 37-24. They've still won 18 of 22, as we said, losing those back-to-back over the weekend to Indiana and then the one with Houston the other day. And Cavaliers got, you know what, too? This is a one game here before you break back out on the road, and you've got those back-to-back tough Eastern Conference challenges coming up with Orlando and Atlanta. This would be a good one to kind of break that funk that you're in, get everybody back on the floor together, and get yourself feeling good. Can't look past Boston, you guys, of course. That would be without saying, but that's what the Cavaliers need to go. I believe isn't tonight's bobblehead night too. I believe it's Kyrie Irving bobblehead night tonight. So should be a raucous crowd down there, and we'll see what happens. We'll talk about it tomorrow with Eddie Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland. Last time these teams played, LeBron had 41, Kyrie had 27. Cavaliers early on in the season escaped with a 122-121 victory. LeBron made the winning free throw with 36 seconds to go in that one, unlike what happened the other day. Do you know LeBron's best team that he plays against in his career statistically is the Boston Celtics? He averages over it's like Michael Jordan against the Cavs, man. LeBron averages over 30 points a game in his career against the Celtics, 30.4 to be exact. He's the highest scoring amount for LeBron James career-wise against any other team in the NBA. So last time he dropped 41 on him, and we'll see what happens tonight. Hopefully it doesn't take a 122-121 victory. That was a much different Cavs team on November 14th than the one that they're going to run into here on March the 3rd. And don't forget, too, a little different Boston squad, too. They've got Thomas over there now, picked up in the trade, and you've got some different things there, and we'll see how this shakes out here. Obviously, Isaiah Thomas, I like him, too. I like his game, man. And what did I see that he did the other day? First Celtic to come off the bench in 4 straight games and scored 19 or more points since Kevin McHale did it near the end of his career in 1989. That's a long time. That was the heyday of those Celtics teams, the back end of those great 80s Celtics teams. But anytime you can get your name in the books next to some of the greats like that, that's a good start for him since he came over in that trade. I mean, they were looking like they were going to win 4 straight. They had a 26-point lead, did Boston, against Golden State, who have really been reeling in the last couple of weeks. But unfortunately for the Celtics, they were outscored 31-15 in the fourth quarter, and Golden State came back to win that game by 5. But Boston been on a roll. They've still won 3 out of 4. Meanwhile, Cavs looking for 12 in a row at the Q at the house here tonight. Eddie Jansen will be here tomorrow. We'll talk about it and look ahead to the big games coming up the rest of the week, guys. Man, we got a busy, loaded hump day slate tomorrow. To a lot of hoops talking here with Eddie Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland and Coach Gary Waters, head coach of the Cleveland State Vikings men's basketball team. Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan will be here tomorrow. We've got Tribe who talked about Cavs hoops and CSU Vikings and Browns and so much more. Buckeyes going to be a full day tomorrow here on The Fix. Guys, thank you for being with us, for joining us. Once again, thanks to everybody who did the Tribe Trivia Challenge this year, all of you who participated. Shout out to Charles Morgan, last year's defending champion, who finished second this year. He finished in second place. He did miss a question, and it was question number 8. Charles sent me a message during the break, and I'll answer him later. He said, which one did I miss? It was which Cleveland Indian had won an all-star game and stayed in Cleveland his entire career. He answered Bob Lemon, and the correct answer was Al Rosen. That was it. And still no guarantee that Charles would have won. We would have had 2 people tied with all 10 correct answers, and then it would have been a coin flip, but only one person ended up with all 10 correct. Congrats to you, Brandon Williams, the winner of the 2015 Tribe Trivia Challenge. I'll get with you off the air. Guys, hey, if you liked it, we're going to cook up some Cavs trivia in a couple of weeks when we get around playoff time. Can't wait to do that. Can't wait to get off here and go watch some Indians baseball. You go do it too, and come on back and talk to us about it tomorrow. All the things we got. Hump Day Sports Fix. Let's do it. And do it together tomorrow, noon. Same bat time, bat channel live here on the Sports Fix Radio Network. We love you, Cleveland and beyond. Have a hell of a night and an even better tomorrow when we see you here at noon on the Sports Fix.
You can see the lake from here. Faith in my teams, we keep getting closer every year. But we got the king, though, so hopefully we overcome. Yes, I have a dream, and I know I ain't the only one. Modell tried to steal my heart, but we brought it back. Thanks to Cleveland Clinic, now they call them Kiss the Cardiac. Rock Cars, Science Center, Tower City, all of that. Warehouse District, Euclid Corridor, and all the flat. You know that I'm a Tribes fan, and I love Slimans. Crockett Park's the perfect place for me to spend some time in. Baby, this is Cleveland. It is so much more to us. You can even go to Severance Hall to see an orchestra.
Cleveland,